mostly it's like just changing mindset, just being like, you know what, you're not limited to people in your postal code or in your area code. You're not limited to, or zip code. You're not limited to people in your state or your province or even your country. Like, especially with tech, like it's so universal, as you said, that there's great DevOps engineers who work with AWS, Azure, whatever, GCP, anywhere in the world. And typically, like if you look at Stack Overflow, like the top 100 people with the reputation score, like they're usually like, they're from like 70 countries. Like it's so diverse. It's not like this one country has a monopoly on software talent. So yeah, that kind of preaching that gospel has really been the biggest thing that I feel like we need to do, because we still run into companies that are like, oh my God, visas are hard, or, you know, frankly, I've had companies tell me, hey, I don't want to hire people from a specific country because I don't think that they're as good as others. And it's kind of like, that's kind of racist, you know? So we try and lightly, and sometimes more, you know, lightly say, you know what, you should just think about like opening up your scope to the widest possible lens, because then you'll have the highest possible chance to find the perfect fit. And that's what it's all about at the end of the day. And then the ones who do that are going to win. Companies like Fair, which is a huge, fastest growing unicorn, Applyboard, two huge unicorns from Waterloo, raised hundreds of millions, like over $100 million each from U.S. investors in Kitchener Waterloo. They both hired from us, and they have this global mindset. Companies like that, they get it and they move fast, whereas you see other companies that are maybe a little bit slower, of course, won't name any, and still be like, oh, I want to hire someone who's just like me, who's a cultural fit, who can, you're competing with the FANG companies, right? Like, come on, man. Like, sometimes I feel like shaking people.
Yeah.
but yeah, anyway, that's kind of what we do for the company side. And it's something that I think is going to grow and evolve over time as we, especially now, shift more and more to remote, more and more to employ anywhere, work anywhere. We just announced a partnership with a company called Deal, which is a Andreessen Horowitz startup that does global payments and compliance for contractors. So stuff like that, we're really trying to build in the arsenal of like, you kind of come to VanHack and you can quickly employ the right person and figure out, don't worry about all the other bureaucratic stuff.
Cool.
Yeah, it's a really interesting time right now as well. It's like, I think you've been almost seeing Canada poach talent and tech talent from the United States. And I think that was probably something not as easy to do, I don't know, in the previous years. Have you been seeing a higher influx of people choosing Canada over the US with some of the visa changes in the US, or?
Kind of. Not as much. I think the media is making it too big of a deal of it, honestly. It's not like the Canadian visa immigration process is perfect, and right now it's stalled. A lot of people don't really know that. Like, they haven't approved a work permit in like 4 months because of COVID.
Really?
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So I don't feel like it's so much Canada is like way better than the US in this sense. I feel like US has this huge advantage, which is the American dollar and salaries just being twice, basically. When you look at things like quality of life, cost of living, of course, we have to pay health insurance, et cetera. It's always a calculation, but there's plenty of, US companies hiring remotely. There's even startups that the whole job is to help US companies hire people in Canada and pay them slightly lower than US wages, but much higher than Canadian wages, and basically like poach Canadians, but to US companies, even digitally, remotely. Mm-hmm. And I think like there's a lot of people on H-1Bs right now who are happy to stay where they are. People who didn't get their H-1B approved because of suspension a few weeks ago, they're just going to keep working remotely for their employer. And maybe a small amount of them are thinking about Canada. But hey, who knows? Maybe if we're sitting in 6 months from now and COVID is at how many, like, it just keeps going the way it is going in the US, and Canada's relatively low, then maybe a lot of people start seriously considering coming up here, and maybe as kind of a health reasons. But right now, financially speaking, if you're an engineer in even Austin or Miami, kind of secondary American markets, you're making way more than your counterparts in Canada. Mm-hmm. And if you're a Canadian engineer, you just work remotely for a US company and keep living in Canada. So I'm not really seeing that much people running to Canada right now.